I am presently going through Luke chapter 5. I've read about Jesus calling the first disciples, Peter and Andrew and James and John. I have just seen how he healed a man of leprosy. And as news about that healing got out, it says in Luke 5:15, but now even more, the report about him went abroad, and great crowds gathered to hear him and to be healed of their infirmities. That's expected. When people hear that Jesus is healing people, they come to hear him. They come with all their sicknesses, hoping that he will do something for them, which he did. He did keep ministering to people. But then Luke writes this, but he would withdraw to desolate places and pray. That impacted me, because if anyone was too busy to pray, it was Jesus. That's the picture Luke shows us. All the gospel writers show us that once Jesus began his ministry and God began attesting to everybody through the miracle signs and wonders that this was the Messiah, then everybody wanted to come and experience the healing of their physical illnesses. So Jesus was very busy. So when Luke writes this, and the other gospel writers do as well, that Jesus would withdraw from that. He would remove himself from things that some of us would love to see happening. We would love to see people's lives being transformed. We would love to see people getting healed of sicknesses. We would love to see people coming to hear the gospel, to hear the teaching of God's word. But Luke wants us to know that's not all there is in the picture. Jesus would withdraw from that. Where would he go? He would go to desolate places, which simply meant uninhabited places, places there were no people. So he withdrew from the people, the busyness, to a place where there was none of that. What did he do there? He prayed. We can imagine what Jesus might have prayed, but it's still difficult for us as sinners to think about what Jesus prayed as a sinless man, but also as God come in the flesh. That is mind-boggling. But Jesus was doing this in his humanity because he had humbled himself to come to earth and to become a human creature. And as a human creature, even though he was God in the flesh, he was still in the flesh. He was still relating to God out of his humanity. So when we look at this, what we see is a picture of Jesus, the divine Son of God. His relationship with God calls him to keep getting away from everything, to be alone with his Father. There's a lot of things in that, and I think you can see that obviously that's an example to us, but I want to share how it applied to me, because part of what I want to always show is how we relate to this personally. We let it get into us. We take it to heart so we know how to put it into practice. So when I thought of withdrawing, what does that look like? Well, part of it for us would be finding some way to get away from the busyness of ministry, the busyness of family, the busyness of work, the busyness of responsibilities, and withdraw from it. There's something very important in that, because it can be really difficult to do this time with God, to really walk in fellowship with God when we're in the midst of everything. We know what it's like to punch in at work and have trouble thinking about God because of the demands of our work schedule. That can't be helped. What can be helped is if we find time to withdraw from that. The thing I saw here, I have a few ways that I withdraw. One is I'll go for a prayer walk around I call it the truck route, but I go on a prayer walk. I get away from everything that's going on. If I stay in the house, I'm usually sitting down at my computer, or we have the daycare. I have kids to take care of. I have to get out of the house. I have to get away. But sometimes I can't do that. So another thing I do is that I withdraw to the basement. I go down in our big room there and I just walk with God and pray. I just walk around praying and talking to him. And I can withdraw from other things by just going downstairs. I think there's many ways we can do that, even just in our house, where we withdraw mentally, emotionally. We just shut down from everything going on and we spend some time in prayer. Yesterday when I did this, I went downstairs to pray. I began praying, and it's amazing that when you start to pray, you pray. It might be something you think, how am I going to pray? Well, just start and watch what happens. So I was praying, and as I pray, I get more personal, and that leads like one thing to another, and I find I'm praying about these personal things, and things are going deeper, and I'm being really moved by my interaction with God, talking to him, and suddenly it hit me. I need to withdraw in my mind. I have a very busy mind. It often doesn't get quiet. It just, one thought, so many projects, people, ways I want to talk to somebody, things I want to write, things I want to do. And I realized I need help from God to withdraw in my mind, to withdraw from busy thoughts, busy ideas, busy imaginings. I need to withdraw. It was fascinating. I was moved to tears by it. Like, yes, I need to withdraw in my mind and get to desolate places. I need desolate places in my mind where I'm not thinking of everything else. I'm not bombarded with ideas. And it was almost funny because down in the big room where I was praying, there's a project I'm working on. And it almost felt like Satan was saying, Monty, that project, see that project? And I had to like pull my mind into the desolate places where there's not a bunch of other thoughts and give some time to pray. Jesus did that uniquely. None of us can actually conceive of that. When he taught what we call the Lord's Prayer, the disciples' prayer, that wasn't what he prayed. That was what sinners pray. There are parts of it he could have prayed, our Father in heaven, yeah, that's his Father. Hallowed be your name, of course, Jesus would want that. Your kingdom come, of course he prayed about the kingdom. Your will be done on earth as it is done in heaven. Well, Jesus would pray that, especially that we would do that. Give us this day our daily bread. Jesus probably trusted his Father for his daily sustenance. Forgive us our trespasses? No. Jesus would not have prayed that. Jesus would not have had to pray anything to do with dealing with sin, doubt, unbelief. His praying was different. But he sets the example to us to pray the things we're supposed to pray the way he prayed the things he was supposed to pray. It's the praying that's the issue. Even if his was unique, he still prayed. And so we look at this and say, what is it supposed to look like for us to pray? One thing is we can do exactly this. You and I, as individuals, we can withdraw from all our activities, go to a desolate place, a place where we can be alone and undistracted, and we can pray. And the Bible's full of help in how to pray. But Jesus is doing this as the head of the church. He's the head of the body. So one way we can actually follow his example when he went alone to pray is to get with other believers like this and pray. So Jesus is showing the body how to do what he did. So sometimes we can get alone, but sometimes we take this and it's like people, we need to get together with other believers and withdraw from all our activities, all our busyness. We need to get to a desolate place, just meaning a place that is not surrounded with busyness and people. We can get to a prayer room or a home where we can pray and get away to quiet our hearts together and pray. to pray, to seek after God, to pour out our hearts to God. So this is fascinating to me, the idea that I need help with this right in my mind, to know how to withdraw and take some time away from all the busy thinking, to get to a desolate place where in my mind I'm away in a quiet place to just be with God, and then to pray. That's something we can do even just in our minds. But we can do it physically, get away from everything. And we can do it with our church. In small groups, we can get away to pray. I'm putting this before you that deeply impacted me. It told me what God was doing in me that even involved just my own mind. I hope it encourages you with what he's doing in you. What's he doing? To call you to withdraw. Can you think of the things he's calling you to withdraw from, to get to a desolate place where there's no distractions, and to seek him in prayer? If Jesus did that as the perfect Son of God, God become flesh, the Word who became flesh to live among us, then us poor, unfinished, incomplete creatures surely have to do this as well, individually, with our families if they're believers, and with our church, to get away from everything, to get where it's quiet, and to pour out our hearts to God in prayer. We must do that. It's not an option. How is God leading you to put that into practice?